Well, hey folks, it's your old pal, King Waspinator. Welcome back to Total Party Skills. Be sure to hit like and subscribe. So since I had recently found an actual physical copy of the old complete Psionics Handbook for AD&D, I now, for the first time in my life, actually have all the proper books to actually be able to do Dark Sun. So, you know, my philosophy to learn any game system properly is to make a bunch of characters, and so since I finally actually have all the tools to do that correctly, I've been making a few just Dark Sun characters just for kicks, just to kind of get the feel for the game world in that kind of fashion. And there's a few things I kind of noticed while doing so, because I'm, I guess, paying a bit more, detailed attention to the character creation guidelines that are in this book, that I find kind of a little funny and ironic. There's always been a bit of a clamor from the Dark Sun fandom to, adapt and bring Dark Sun forward into later editions of the game. I never did look at the 4th edition version of Dark Sun because I'd already kind of given up on 4th edition by the time that had come out. But, looking at it, I kind of feel that in some ways that this is supposed to be hard mode, survival mode kind of setting for AD&D. And so in many ways, it doesn't really do it proper justice unless you're using the original 2nd edition AD&D rules to go with it. It's kind of what it was built to go with. And I guess, some people, I don't know how true it is or not, but, I guess it's suggested that part of why they don't bring this setting forward into the modern day 5th edition is the amount of brutality and slavery that goes on in the setting. It's very much kind of a conceptually somewhere between Mad Max Fury Road and kind of like your ancient ancient Babylon, ziggurat and blood sacrifice kind of civilizations, out here in this harsh-ass desert where you can literally die of a heat stroke if you fight for too long wearing metal armor and stuff like that. It's a super brutal setting. Everyone's ruled over by sorcerer god kings, and the vast majority of the population of any given city-state's probably somewhere around 60 to 70% slave stock. Resources are tight. People are forced to labor all day in the hot sun just for a cup of gruel and a thimble full of water, and they're happy to get it. Kind of an environment. But in a weird way, there's that thing that had happened recently with Paizo where they've announced that Pathfinder is going to edit slavery entirely out of the setting. And so, I guess because of that, it's easy to speculate that maybe that's what's holding Dark Sun back. But the thing is in spite of, the stuff of, so many people being enslaved in the setting, and in some ways, for a book written in the late 80s, early 90s, it's actually kind of, you wouldn't really call it woke, but it's sort of pre-woke. There's a lot of, equal footing between the races and the sexes in this game. It very much describes it that it's a brutal setting where, meritocracy and the meritocracy of just purely being able to just survive and do your job is the most important thing, more so than, whether or not you got a vajayjay or a wee-wee between your legs, and they, less caring about whether or not you're an elf or a dwarf or a human. It's whether or not you can haul stone up that hill is the important question. So in a weird way, there's this kind of equality between the various kinds of, genders and races to be found in the Dark Sun setting that you might not necessarily see in all other D&D settings. And it's kind of brought on just by the sheer brutality of the setting. I don't think you'd get quite the same feel at all if you were to revise Dark Sun so that all these little city-states are all, run like, Athenian democracies or something like that. Trying to pull that aspect of the setting away from it, completely undercuts the entire nature and feel of this brutal world without hope. And yet the thing is throughout the adventure, all the adventure modules leading up to the prison pentad stuff was all about the characters bringing about positive change, helping with slave uprisings, helping a forest grow in the desert, helping clean a poisoned well so that the river that runs from it now has drinkable water, all that kind of stuff. It's all the adventures were about taking this horrible, horrible world that you find yourself in and finding ways to make life better for people. So, you don't get to do that if you make life too good for everyone. Then it's just more random, just like characters farting around in Forgotten Realms just because they're broke and want money, so they're going to go kill a cave full of goblins and take their treasure. This is much more about saving what is left of society and life on this dying apocalyptic world. And it's just weird that, you know, to whatever degree that Dark Sun is being kept on the shelf because of the cruel nature of the setting, is ignoring the fact though that like the players like have the things that we've been saying that we've wanted since the 90s, where, you know, it's not a sexist setting, it's not a racist setting. No one cares about your skin color or how pointy your ears are or your gender. It's your ability to just survive this brutal, screwed up society. And if anything, I think maybe the message that people really don't want get out there is that, you know, that is the easier way to make everyone equal to each other, is to just brutalize and enslave everyone, and then everyone's got, you know, the same lot in life. So anyway, that's about it. I'll probably be talking on and off about Dark Sun here for a little while in between doing riffs videos, since I now have all the stuff to do Dark Sun. Whether or not I ever run it or do anything like that, who knows? Only time will tell. Until then, leave comments below about your thoughts on all this. Hit like and subscribe. And as always, Waspa stay